of history are merely mouthpieces for deception, and historical records written at the behest of those in power are often unreliable. Only those who have personally experienced history can truly know its reality. The poor cannot impartially judge the rich. The defeated cannot objectively assess the victorious. Those who seize power will not fairly evaluate the achievements of their predecessors. Those who have suffered injustice cannot impartially reflect on objective facts. Most people judge others or events from the perspective of their own class, status, interests, position, beliefs, and values rather than from an objective and fair standpoint. Even those who respect people and facts may still distort the truth due to the limitations of their understanding and consciousness. Consequently, their retelling may deviate from the original meaning, or even completely alter and lose its essence. From this, it becomes clear that the information recorded in books passed down through the ages cannot be entirely trusted. Even monumental texts such as the Bible, Buddhist scriptures, and the Tao Te Ching are not entirely reliable unless they were directly written by their authors. Anything written from memory, copied, or compiled by later generations may contain distortions. The most effective way to cover up wrongful acts is to invert right and wrong, to confuse truth with falsehood. Next comes intimidation, threats, or even the eradication of dissenting voices. Then, through the use of words, images, and edited videos, one can glorify one's deeds. Over time, the truth becomes entirely obscured, and history presents only a glorious facade. This understanding is not based on archaeological discoveries that reveal discrepancies between historical texts and reality but on my personal experiences. For instance, there is a video online that misrepresents the second home created by Lifechanyuan as an evil home. Every claim in that video is fabricated and entirely contrary to the facts. Not only does it misrepresent the truth, but it also reverses it completely. This deeply reinforced my realization that historical records cannot be entirely trusted. Similarly, no online statement can be fully trusted, especially those from powerful circles, whose evaluations and definitions are even more suspect. Only what we personally experience and witness can be regarded as real, everything else is difficult to verify as either true or false. For example, a certain medicine might be praised in advertisements and endorsed by celebrities with exaggerated claims, but its actual efficacy can only be known through personal use and validation. The true history of the past is something we can never fully understand because we cannot go back in time to personally experience it. Most information online is untrustworthy because much of it is merely reposted and distorted hearsay, not first-hand accounts. Even first-hand accounts cannot always be personally verified or experienced by us. If we believe, we risk being deceived; if we don't believe, we might miss great opportunities. Ultimately, whether to believe or not rests on our own judgment. It is better to read the wordless book of heaven, to observe the sky, the earth, people, objects, and all phenomena in nature. Unlike books written by humans, the wordless book of heaven reveals the words of the greatest creator. Hello, Zimbabwe. Isn't it time for reflection? Xiefeng. May 15, 2023. Hello, Zimbabwe. I lived on your land for 16 years, once dreaming of spending my entire life in your embrace. You are a land I deeply love, yet also where my dreams were shattered. Today, you have become one of the poorest countries in the world. Have you ever asked yourself why? You had the potential to be one of the richest nations on earth. You are blessed with one of the world's most livable climates, neither scorching summers nor harsh winters, just year-round greenery and blooming flowers. You were once celebrated as the breadbasket of Africa and the Little Paris of Africa. Tourist destinations like Wang National Park and Victoria Falls are among the world's most breathtaking. I have traveled across your mountains and rivers, and wherever I went, there was only one word to describe it: beautiful. The Shona, your predominant ethnic group, are kind-hearted, peaceful, and broad-minded. After 16 years of close interactions with both the Shona and Ndebele, I grew to love them deeply. With such excellent environmental, climatic, and cultural conditions, why have you become one of the world's poorest and most underdeveloped nations? Is it not time for some serious reflection? Your gravest mistake was the violent land reform, which expropriated thousands of white-owned farms. Those farms were the lifeblood of your economy. It was as if you severed your own lifeline. How could you not fall into poverty? By cutting off the main artery, you deprived all capillaries of energy input, leading to the country's overall decline. The economy collapsed, the currency became worthless, talent fled, capital withdrew, and foreign reserves disappeared. As a result, power supply became unreliable, roads fell into disrepair, food became scarce, and goods grew increasingly limited. Factories shut down, unemployment soared, government credibility crumbled, and corruption spread among officials. Theft and crime surged, and in the end, the nation became the poorest in the world. Land reform was only a surface issue. The deeper problem lies in your hostility toward foreign capital. Your sense of national pride is built on an illusory foundation. You lack technology, capital, and modern governance experience, yet you drove away those who possessed these resources. It's against the natural order for you not to descend into poverty and backwardness. One fundamental truth you fail to grasp: the wealthy are seldom patriotic. Or to put it another way, among all citizens, capitalists are the least patriotic. For capitalists, home is wherever they can profit, secure their wealth, and enjoy life. If you offer capitalists safety and freedom, they will treat your country as their own. They won't send their money back to their hometowns but will instead spend it locally. When you expel capitalists, their funds, technology, and experience leave with them. Companies and factories close, unemployment rises, and your economy deteriorates. Poverty and backwardness become inevitable. Even locally born capitalists will transfer their funds abroad if they feel their money is unsafe in your country. Acting policies that restrict foreign investment. If you do so, Zimbabwe will regain its glory. You will emerge from poverty and backwardness and step into the ranks of civilized and prosperous nations. Skip over these foot-binding cloth rhetorics. Xiefeng. November 26, 2022. Chanyuan Celestials, Lifechanyuan members, should be the clearest-minded individuals in the world, living with the greatest clarity, peace, and steadfastness. Through first-hand experience in the second home lifestyle, we have gained clear insight into which theories and social activities are right and which are wrong, even to the point of being harmful or criminal. We understand that marriage and family life are not only a disaster for society but also the primary sources of personal distress and suffering. Without marriage and family, people would live more freely, and society would become more blessed and harmonious. Therefore, all the grand rhetoric about how to maintain a harmonious family or achieve marital happiness is nothing more than foot-binding rhetoric. What is foot-binding rhetoric? It is the advocacy and glorification of outdated, oppressive traditions, like foot-binding itself. Foot-binding involved tightly wrapping women's feet with cloth to prevent them from growing, causing extreme deformities in their toes and feet. This cruel and perverse custom is said to have originated when the southern Tang Emperor Liu ordered one of his concubines to bind her feet. The practice then spread, and young girls as young as 5 or 6 began binding their feet to keep them small. The wrappings remained in place for a lifetime, giving rise to the saying, "An old lady's foot-binding cloth, long and stinking." Today, if someone were to praise or defend foot-binding, it would be a blatant endorsement of the physical and psychological suffering inflicted on women, a deeply inhumane act. Likewise, throughout history and across cultures, countless men and women have suffered under the institution of marriage and family. Marriage and family are akin to the foot-binding cloth of feudal Chinese society. Defending and glorifying them is no different from endorsing foot-binding, and is arguably even worse, because while foot-binding harmed only women, marriage and family harm not just women but also men and children. Here are some modern-day examples of foot-binding rhetoric. Any theories or advice on how to amass wealth? Any encouragement to pursue success in the conventional sense? Any teachings that glorify the state or promote national sovereignty and interests. Any guidance on how to manipulate relationships for personal gain. All articles, films, and rallying cries that glorify war are foot-binding propaganda. Any glorification of violence in any form. Any preaching that urges people to compete for superiority over others. Any praise for luxury goods, jewelry, extravagant cars, mansions, or lavish lifestyles. Any rhetoric that fuels vanity and inflates desires. With the rise of the internet, especially the explosion of social media, we are bombarded daily by an overwhelming flood of information. If we are not vigilant, we may easily be swept into the whirlpool of the era by the endless waves of foot-binding rhetoric. Therefore, whenever we come across such rhetoric, propaganda, enticements, or advocacy, do not engage, just skip over them. The difference between Tao and Path. Xiefeng. January 3, 2022. Two extraordinary aspects of Chinese culture that set it apart from others are its written characters and landscape paintings. Chinese characters are undoubtedly of divine origin, as they embody the essence of Tao and reveal its mysteries. Similarly, Chinese landscape paintings are ethereal and transcendental, created by individuals with celestial qualities. Appreciating such paintings is like traveling through time and space to enter an idyllic paradise, a breathtaking realm beyond the mundane world. Let us explore the profound meanings hidden in Chinese characters to understand the difference between Tao and road. Tao. The character consists of the radical, which signifies movement or walking, and the component, which means head. The structure of the character suggests a person walking while carrying a head, but this head does not represent one's own mind, rather, it signifies the mind of a supreme leader. Who is the supreme leader of the universe? Naturally, it is the greatest creator. Thus, Tao signifies walking in accordance with the greatest creator's will or following the greatest creator's guidance. To walk in the Tao means to align one's actions with the greatest creator's intentions. The challenge lies in identifying where this supreme leader resides. For most people, this is difficult to comprehend. Therefore, the concept can be simplified: walking in alignment with the revelations found in nature, the myriad phenomena of all things, is also considered walking in the Tao. If one's spiritual perception is dull and they cannot perceive these revelations, the idea can be further simplified: following the guidance of the greatest creator's messengers is essentially walking in the Tao. Road. The character is a combination of, which represents walking, and act or speak according to their inner will. They are not truly walking their own road. Summary. If a person does not act or speak according to the greatest creator's will, they are not walking in the Tao. If one does not act or speak in alignment with their inner will, they are not truly walking their own path. As a result, we find that most people in the world are neither walking in the Tao nor following their own path, they are merely drifting with the wind. Why is the Tao of the greatest creator the supreme Tao for life, and the path of Lifechanyuan the most blessed path? Because the Tao of the greatest creator is the righteous Tao, the ultimate Tao, and the path of Lifechanyuan is the path of blessings, the heavenly path. The revelation of urgently searching for a toilet in a dream. Xiefeng. November 20, 2022. The myriad phenomena of the vast universe is a wordless heavenly book. Dreams of urgently searching for a toilet are one such phenomenon, a passage in this wordless book that we need to read it carefully and understand what this heavenly book is trying to tell us. When we fall asleep, we lose awareness of the external world and instead enter the non-material world. When awake, if we feel the urge to urinate, we find a toilet to relieve ourselves. The key question arises when we are asleep and unconscious of this urge, yet the self in the dream becomes anxious to find a toilet. Within the dream, we are awake. This brings up several questions. Are we asleep or awake when we dream? Outside the dream, we are asleep, but within the dream, we are awake. Does this mean there are two versions of me? Is it the physical urge to urinate that awakens the me in the dream, or does the dream self become aware of the urgency? When deeply asleep, we resemble a vegetative state or even a living corpse with a beating heart. Why then does a conscious me appear in the dream? Could this suggest that another me continues to exist after death? Let us analyze and reason through this step by step. Undoubtedly, when we are asleep, we are unaware of the happenings in the material world around us unless stimulated by loud noises, shaking, or a sudden sharp sound. However, if the body experiences physical discomfort, such as pain, intense hunger, thirst, or the need to urinate, the dream self may engage in activities to resolve this discomfort. In more severe cases, we may wake up entirely. This indicates the existence of both a waking me and a sleeping me. Paradoxically, the waking me is often less sensitive, whereas the sleeping me becomes sharper and more alert. This reveals that our intuitive, spiritual self is more perceptive and accurate than the rational self we depend on while awake. Moreover, it suggests that intuition and feeling are more reliable than analysis, and that spirituality surpasses rationality. The self inside the dream and the self outside it are not entirely the same. While the waking self can easily address physical needs like urinating by finding a toilet, the dream self often fails to find a suitable place. Similarly, a hungry person might dream of a lavish feast, but the dream cannot resolve the hunger. This demonstrates that physical issues require material world solutions, whereas mental and spiritual challenges demand resources from the non-material world. When the bladder is full, the only solution is to empty it. Light sleepers may wake up to urinate, while deep sleepers might wet the bed. If the bladder is empty, there is no dream of urgently finding a toilet. This teaches us that if our body is healthy, our mind free of distractions, and our heart at peace, we will rarely dream. Only specific triggers, like a full bladder, cause such dreams. By extension, if we are not hungry, we won't dream of food, if our heart harbors no fear. We won't have dreams of being chased by jackals, tigers, leopards, robbers. Laef's creation of the periodic table of elements was a result of his subconscious. In Buddhism, the 8 types of consciousness include eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, manas, and aleya. The first 6 belong to the conscious mind, while aleya corresponds to the subconscious. The experience of urgently searching for a toilet in a dream is associated with the manas consciousness. This raises another question: what kind of consciousness drives bees to make honey, spiders to weave webs, and migratory birds to navigate their journeys? My answer is that they do not operate under any specific type of consciousness, they act purely on instinct. But then, what is instinct? Instinct is precisely subconscious awareness, which aligns with what Buddhism describes as aleya consciousness. From the perspective of spiritual cultivation, humans have a small self and a greater self. The small self represents conscious awareness, while the greater self embodies subconscious wisdom. The greater self determines everything about the small self. This brings us to an intriguing question: who exactly is searching for a toilet in the dream? We must first ask, who designed this dream scenario where we urgently need to find a toilet? The answer is obvious: it is the subconscious. Then, is the subconscious me still truly me? My answer is this: the subconscious is the Tao. It is the Tao that governs all occurrences and transformations. Hunger makes us crave food, fatigue makes us seek sleep, a full bladder makes us want to urinate, and pain makes us groan. All these natural phenomena result from the operation of the Tao. This is the natural way. When we align with the natural way, we experience health, smooth progress, and freedom from misfortune. When we act against the natural way, we encounter illness, difficulties, and disasters, and, naturally, we may wet the bed. The ultimate revelation of dreaming about urgently finding a toilet is this: the Tao governs all events and changes. The best way to live is to follow the natural way. With this understanding, we see more clearly that the higher the level of a life, the more it seeks spiritual matters, while the lower the level, the more it pursues material rationality. This is why the guide encourages us to live a spiritual life rather than a rational one, because rationality is a human trait, whereas spirituality is a celestial trait. Rationality belongs to the material realm, whereas spirituality belongs to the non-material realm. Understanding, the saint has no dreams, through the experience of urgently searching for a toilet in a dream. Xiefeng. November 21, 2022. Zhuangzi once said, "The perfected person has no dreams," a saying that later evolved into, "The saint has no dreams." What is the principle behind this? We often dream of urgently looking for a toilet because we feel the need to urinate but can never find a suitable place. This is the subconscious mind alerting us that our bladder is full and that we need to relieve ourselves. If the bladder is not full, we won't have such dreams. We only dream of urgently searching for a toilet when our bladder is full. This reveals a pattern: if our physiological condition is normal, we will not dream. However, when a physiological issue arises, we will have corresponding dreams. Similarly, most people experience nightmares, being chased by ghosts, villains, or wild beasts they fear, or facing natural disasters such as floods or landslides. Such dreams reflect inner fears and anxieties. This suggests that when there are disturbances in our mental state, we also experience corresponding dreams. This leads to a conclusion: when a person experiences physiological or psychological disturbances, the subconscious mind signals these issues through dreams. Dreams serve as indicators of problems in our physical or mental well-being. This leads to another observation: the more frequently one dreams, the more it suggests unresolved physiological or psychological issues. Conversely, fewer dreams suggest fewer underlying issues. A complete absence of dreams indicates perfect harmony of body and mind. This clarifies the principle behind "the saint has no dreams." Saints maintain balance in both their physical and mental states, so they do not dream. If this analysis holds true, then the frequency of dreaming can serve as a touchstone for measuring one's progress in spiritual practice and cultivation. Frequent dreaming suggests an incomplete practice, fewer dreams indicate significant improvement, and rarely or never dreaming signifies that one has achieved mastery in practice and cultivation. Here are some dream scenarios to consider. Dreaming of desperately searching for a toilet suggests a full bladder. Dreaming of eating food suggests that you are hungry. Dreaming of intimacy with the opposite sex, even leading to sexual satisfaction, indicates a lack of sexual activity in your life. Frequently dreaming about a specific person or certain people suggests unresolved emotional entanglements or karmic debts with that person or those individuals. Dreaming of wearing new clothes indicates that you lack adequate clothing or may soon experience a loss. Having nightmares signals inner worries or fears. Dreaming of being unable to move your hands or feet, or being unable to speak, suggests poor blood circulation in the cardiovascular system. You may need to adjust your sleeping posture. Dreaming of feces, or having feces on your hands or feet, signals a need to bathe, do laundry, or clean your surroundings. Other dreams can be interpreted in a similar manner. The above analysis is purely my own reasoning and may not be entirely accurate. It is provided for reference only. Why no filial child by a long-suffering patient's sickbed? Xiefeng. July 16, 2022. What is the most exhausting task in life? Caring for someone who is long-term ill. It drains not only the body but also the mind. Short-term care may be bearable, but years of tending to a bedridden patient can wear a person down completely, both physically and emotionally. Since the dawn of the industrial era, each generation has been more burdened than the last. The more advanced technology becomes, the higher the cost of living, and the faster life moves. Young and middle-aged people are always on the run. Missing work for just 3 days sparks anxiety, and taking 3 months off invites serious trouble. Even the most devoted children, who sincerely wish to care for their aging and ailing parents, often find themselves powerless against life's demands. They want to help, but they simply lack the time and energy. It is not that a long illness on the sickbed finds no filial child, nor is it that children lack love or patience. The reality is that they have their own struggles. After an exhausting day of work, they must still tend to their bedridden loved ones, siblings, and friends. While short-term caregiving is manageable, over time, anyone can become drained. People already feel exhausted managing their own daily responsibilities, let alone having to carve out time and energy to care for others. What makes it even harder is that bedridden patients are often irritable and stubborn. If their needs are not met exactly as they wish, they may respond with frustration, resentment, or complaints. This puts caregivers in a dilemma: they cannot vent their frustrations on the sick, nor can they afford to show impatience. Over time, this breeds a deep, unspoken sorrow and helplessness. For those who find themselves in this situation, it is important to remember that while patients must endure the suffering of their illness, they should also be mindful of the burdens their caregivers bear. They must cultivate gratitude toward those looking after them. Even parents should show understanding and appreciation toward their children who care for them. Otherwise, caregivers may gradually lose patience, motivation, and even confidence in their ability to continue. This is human nature, an enduring reality throughout history. It cannot be solved by moral preaching, nor by appeals to traditional virtues such as benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and trustworthiness. When a person is physically and mentally exhausted, no amount of moral persuasion or coercion can make a significant difference. The only true solution lies in fundamentally transforming traditional modes of production and living. To address this issue, Lifechanyuan has designed a new program of production and lifestyle called the Second Home. This program frees people from the burdens of worry and suffering. In the second home, the sick receive proper care, and caregivers are regularly rotated. Tending to bedridden parents is no longer solely the responsibility of their children but rather a shared duty among all members of the second home. This prevents the burden of caregiving from falling entirely on one person or a few individuals, significantly easing psychological stress, mental exhaustion, and feelings of helplessness. I hope everyone reflects on this issue, as both illness and caregiving are challenges we will all face sooner or later. It is wise to plan ahead and transition into this new way of life before it is too late. Do not wait until exhaustion and helplessness take over; by then, regret will be of no use. Owning nothing, possessing everything, a life of freedom. Xiefeng. February 15, 2022. Since I donated all my belongings, leaving not a single penny, to the second home of Lifechanyuan, I have truly had nothing to my name. Before coming to Canada, I no longer had a personal bank account, any savings, or even a single needle or thread. Indeed, I had reached a state of owning absolutely nothing. From that moment on, I no longer worried about thieves stealing my possessions or the devaluation of currency. No matter where I go, that place becomes my home. After arriving in Canada, for tax reasons and daily convenience, I opened a personal bank account. As the base of the Lifechanyuan International Family Society and the headquarters of Lifechanyuan. However, none of this is my personal property. The bank account and the money within it belong to the community. The property belongs to the community. Everything belongs to all members of Lifechanyuan, not to me personally. I am merely a user, a caretaker, maintaining everything for the community. Last year, I earned the equivalent of 200,000 renminbi from running a small inn. Yet, everything I earned also belonged to the community. I eat community-provided food, live in community-owned houses, drive community vehicles, and dedicate my life to its mission. In life, I am a celestial of the second home; in death, my soul belongs to the second home. When I pass on, I will leave peacefully, without worrying about property, because there will always be members of Lifechanyuan to manage and live in these spaces. Since letting go of personal possessions, have I ever lacked anything? Not at all. I have never gone hungry, never felt cold, and never been trapped. On the contrary, my life has become richer and more fulfilling. Spiritually, I feel no pressure. Mentally, I carry no burdens. I live freely, light-hearted and unburdened. When I was a small business owner, living in a villa and making money every day, I used to feel sorry for those who had no house, no money, and no car. Today, after experiencing the joy of owning nothing yet possessing everything, I have come to realize that those who accumulate wealth and possessions are the ones truly to be pitied. If, in the future, no one owned anything, if no individual had private property or personal bank accounts, then society would achieve true harmony. The earth would become a paradise where everyone enjoys the well-being of possessing everything. Each person would be an angel, a bodhisattva, a celestial being, or a Buddha. Upon leaving this world, they would ascend to the heavenly kingdom. That would be the most beautiful way of life and the most ideal path for life. It's great to be alive. Xiefeng. February 15, 2022. I have always felt like a beloved child of the greatest Creator, blessed with all the joys of life. Looking back at the past and gazing into the future, it is so beautiful it makes my heart race and my spirit soar. I have lived through 65 springs, summers, autumns, and winters. Oh, dear heaven, my grandfather, earth, my grandmother, and even the little caterpillars. I have journeyed through more than 23,400 days and am still miraculously alive. Many people younger than me have disappeared, yet I still see the sun rise every day. Truly, I have such great fortune, so much good luck, and so much grace. I am forever grateful. When I was a child, I went hungry. My mother said I was so thin I was nothing but skin and bones, yet I survived. That proves I have great luck. 7 years ago, after our homes were repeatedly destroyed, and worried about the survival of nearly 200 people, I lost the sight of one eye. Yet the greatest Creator showed mercy and let me keep my other eye. Over the past 7 years, my remaining eye has allowed me to see the vast world, to appreciate beautiful women, and even to see things at a glance. How fortunate I am. Over 20 years ago, I was in a strange car accident while driving. The car was totaled, but I was unharmed. My God! It was the greatest Creator who saved me. How could I not be grateful? In my 65 years, I have moved 28 times. For 20 years, I lived in villas of various styles, surrounded by lush green lawns and blooming flowers. Isn't that beautiful? The other 8 years, especially, were spent living with hundreds of loving people in a paradise-like place. Every day was filled with laughter and joy, so wonderful that I just wanted to do cartwheels on the grass. Life was simply wonderful. Let me share a little secret. I've won the hearts of over 100 pure and lovely young women, turning them into my dear little sisters-in-law. As the saying goes, a brother-in-law and his little sister-in-law can live happily forever. With over 100 adoring sisters-in-law, life is simply so beautiful that it's almost dizzying. Even President Trump doesn't have as many as I do. So, tell me, isn't life good? Looking ahead, my grand ambition is to have 30,000 young women as my little sisters-in-law. Though the road ahead is long, I'm enjoying the journey. With such joy on the journey of life, even 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000 years wouldn't be too long. I have traveled from Asia to Africa, to Australia, and to the Americas. Everywhere, there are blue skies, white clouds, green mountains, and clear waters. The weather is always pleasant, with birds singing and flowers blooming. This world is simply a paradise. Everywhere I go, I am met with breathtaking beauty, and I can't help but exclaim, life is truly wonderful. For several years, I worked as a salesman in Zimbabwe, traveling through every city, every street, every mountain, and every river. Selling products was quite an adventure. Sometimes, I would visit more than a dozen businesses in a day without making a single sale. The frustration could almost freeze my blood, but the moment I saw the beautiful women walking along the streets, all my worries vanished, and I was instantly re-energized, ready to take on the next street and the next shop. For a few years, I ran 2 stores, a nightclub, a bar, and a fast food restaurant in the capital, Harare. The workload was overwhelming, but every night when I counted my earnings, my fatigue disappeared. The feeling of counting money was simply exhilarating. They say that counting money every day prevents colds, prostate problems, and back pain, and I can confirm it's true. During those busiest years, I never got sick, nor did I know what exhaustion felt like. My body was always full of energy and excitement for life. The most valuable and meaningful year and a half of my life was spent working as a translator. In reality, a translator is basically a jack of all trades, handling all sorts of tasks. For that year and a half, there were no holidays, no rest days, it was non-stop work. Sometimes, I had to wake up in the middle of the night, drive through the wilderness, and deliver emergency supplies hundreds of kilometers away. Often, I would hurriedly shove dinner into my mouth and immediately collapse into sleep. Sometimes, I even drove large trucks to transport materials. Though it was a busy life, being a translator gave me great freedom. No matter where I was, in villages, schools, or remote areas, whenever I saw a beautiful woman, I couldn't resist slowing down or even stopping the car to flirt a little. "I love you" became my catchphrase, and I deeply felt that all the women in the world were pure and beautiful. One time, I had a slight cold and felt achy all over, but I still had to run errands. On the way, I got thirsty, but there was no water in the car, and I couldn't find a house nearby to ask for some. So, I drove to a dried-up riverbed and used a shovel to dig for water. In less than a meter, water emerged from the sand, so clear, so sweet. I drank my fill and even washed my face since I had rushed out that morning without washing up. Now, tell me, isn't life full of meaning? It's absolutely fascinating. Looking back on every period of my life, it was all joy, all beauty, all play. There are so many beautiful women in this world, and as a man, being able to admire them every day is happiness beyond words. Why does Lifechanyuan uphold the value of heaven and earth reversed, women are respected? It is because we want all women to live with dignity, freedom, and security. If mothers suffer and toil, if sisters cannot live out their true elegance, if daughters are not protected, then damn it. That is the shame and sin of all men in this world. The happiness and beauty of being alive are so abundant that even a truck couldn't carry them all. I could talk for 3 days and 3 nights and still not finish. Every night before sleeping, I reflect on my life, and the sheer joy of it could make me wake up laughing from my dreams. But the most soul-stirring beauty is encountering people in life who give selflessly, without expecting anything in return. They are truly angels on earth. And how lucky I am to have met not just one or two, but a whole group of such people. This has led me to one conclusion: the most valuable and meaningful life is one dedicated to serving those selfless, giving angels. Life is truly wonderful. As long as we are alive, endless possibilities await us. And thinking about the next life, whether it will be in the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, or the celestial islands continent, just fills me with even greater joy. Do you have a pillar of stability? Shui Feng. February 14, 2022. Are you feeling dazed? Is your mind unsettled? Do you see no clear path ahead? Are you anxious and restless? Do you feel as if no one answers when you call out to heaven or earth? If so, the issue lies with your pillar of stability. In Journey to the West, it is said that when Sun Wukong borrowed the Rui Jingu Bang, the golden cudgel, from the Dragon King of the East Sea and pulled it out, the entire East Sea, especially the Dragon Palace, shook. Why? Because the Rui Jingu Bang was the pillar of stability for the sea. With it, the waters remained calm; without it, they surged into chaos. Why has the United States remained stable for over 200 years? Because it has a pillar of stability, the separation of legislative, executive, and judicial powers, combined with media oversight. Without this pillar, America would not be what it is today; it might have turned into another Zimbabwe or Venezuela. Why was China, despite its poverty, relatively stable in terms of people's mental and emotional state from 1949 to 1976? Because China had a pillar of stability, Mao Zedong. Regardless of how history ultimately judges him, one fact remains: as long as Mao was in power, China remained stable. Historically, why did many royal courts delay announcing the death of an emperor? Because once the news got out, various interest groups would begin to stir, and chaos would erupt. This confirms that emperors were the pillar of stability in their time. Of course, we can call the US Constitution a pillar of national stability, and we can refer to Mao Zedong and certain emperors as pillars of the nation. But now, I want to highlight another type of pillar, the pillar of the heart or pillar of the mind, which can also be called a pillar of stability. So, do you have a pillar of stability? For devout Christians, Jesus Christ is their pillar of stability. For Buddhists, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, is their pillar of stability. But for some people, money is their pillar of stability. As long as they have wealth, they feel secure, but once they lose it, their emotions and mental state become chaotic. For others, power and status serve as their pillar of stability. Without them, they feel lost and unanchored. Some find their pillar of stability in their careers. They stay busy and fulfilled in their daily work, striving toward a goal. But if their career suffers setbacks or even collapses, their entire spiritual foundation crumbles. With a pillar of stability, the mind remains steady. It can be said that effort has direction, and striving has a future. But without it, the mind becomes disoriented, effort lacks a goal, and progress has no direction. Now, let's reflect: what should a person take as their pillar of stability? If you see your spouse as your pillar of stability, then any change in them will shake your emotional world. If you see your profession as your pillar of stability, then losing your job will feel like the sky is falling. If you see wealth as your pillar of stability, then losing money will leave you completely unmoored. If you see your current career as your pillar of stability, then as times change and circumstances shift, any setback or business failure will leave your world shrouded in darkness. If you see your teacher as your pillar of stability, then if something happens to them, your worldview, values, and understanding of life will be shaken. If you see your country's president as your pillar of stability, then if they fall, your life will become chaotic and directionless. From this, we can conclude, the longer lasting your chosen pillar of stability, the better. The shorter its lifespan, the more unreliable it will be. So, what is your pillar of stability? Do you have one? True feelings everywhere across the world. Xiefeng. January 31st, 2025. Having journeyed through more than 60 cycles of spring, summer, autumn, and winter, I have walked this path wrapped in true feelings. Whether in Africa or Oceania, Asia or North America, I have encountered genuine kindness and warmth wherever I have traveled. The true feelings I speak of here refer to emotions that are given freely and selflessly, without any ulterior motives or expectations of return. First and foremost, my parents embody true feelings more than anyone else. I have never sensed even the slightest trace of self-interest in their love and care for me. I have never felt that they expected filial repayment from me. My mother, in particular, always gave silently, never complaining, never asking me for anything. In my heart, my parents are like two Buddhas. Among the most unforgettable friendships in my life's journey are those with Xue Binyi and Lu Jinkai. Their kindness toward me was crystal clear and pure, without the slightest impurity. Whenever I recall the countless things they did for me, I feel deeply ashamed, as their noble character is far beyond my reach. In moments of hardship, thinking of them fills me with strength. They are a vast source of spiritual energy within me. When I think of my elementary school teachers, as well as those from middle school, technical school, college, and university, I feel the depth of their sincere dedication. I never did anything for them, yet from them, I received an endless wealth of knowledge and spiritual nourishment. Throughout my journey, true feelings have surrounded me like a protective halo. There was a classmate in middle school, a few black employees who worked for me in Africa, the newly appointed police chief and officers in Linsong during the construction of the fourth home of Lifechanyuan community, as well as the handsome police officer and the public security director in Xinjiang during the construction of Geyser home. Thinking of them, I am deeply moved by their sincerity. Of course, the true feelings of the Chanyuan celestials in Lifechanyuan are even purer, completely untainted by any self-interest. Just like my 2 elder brothers and 3 younger brothers, they have never sought anything from me, only offering me respect and heartfelt sincerity. Oh, heaven! What have I done to deserve so much true kindness, more precious than gold 1,000 times over, throughout my life's journey? My life experience has taught me that true feelings exist everywhere in the world. True feelings are priceless, they are the most valuable spiritual wealth in life. The lesson I have learned is this: on life's journey, whenever you have the chance to meet someone, whether it be your parents or children, brothers or sisters, childhood friends, teachers or classmates, colleagues or superiors, or even a romantic partner, never calculate, never scheme. Even if the person you meet is not a good person, as long as they have not harmed you, offer them your genuine feelings. The greatest regret in life is betraying or failing to cherish true feelings. Give your true feelings freely, and leave everything else to Tao. Never blame others. Those who argue over right and wrong are mere mortals. Xiefeng. February 15, 2025. When flies and bees argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? Clearly, the one who argues is wrong. When a blade of grass and a towering tree argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? Naturally, the one who remains silent is right. When a cat and a mouse, a wolf and a sheep, an ox and a horse argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? Neither is wrong, but the one who argues is. When Christianity and Buddhism argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? When a university professor and a 3-year-old child argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? When a walnut and a watermelon argue over right and wrong, who is right and who is wrong? When a man and a woman argue over right and wrong, when worldly people and mortals argue over right and wrong, when mortals and sages argue over right and wrong, when sages and celestial beings argue over right and wrong, when Buddhas and super-celestial beings argue over right and wrong, tell me, who is right and who is wrong? When husbands and wives argue over right and wrong, and in the end, they part ways, who ended up being right? Even if you are right 10,000 times over, you still cannot declare others wrong. Can a bee say that flies are wrong for feeding on feces? Can a cat say that a mouse is wrong for digging holes? Can a mortal say that worldly people are wrong for being obsessed with money? Can a celestial being say that mortals are wrong for prioritizing emotions? None of these judgments hold any weight. Even between brothers, between sisters, between colleagues, between those who walk the same path, one cannot say, I am right and you are wrong. One is destined for heaven, the other for hell. Of course, their thoughts and actions will differ entirely. How can one claim to be right while the other is wrong? Can you say someone's appearance is wrong? Can you say someone's parents gave birth to the wrong person? Can you say someone's opinions and stance are wrong? Can you say that eating only sweet potatoes and not potatoes is wrong? Can you declare it wrong for someone to cheat, steal, or even commit murder? Can you declare it wrong for lions and tigers to hunt and eat herbivores? The human world is a transit station where all things either ascend or fall, a marketplace where debts are repaid, and a crucial link in the dynamic balance of cosmic life. This is simply how the world is. If you find mice sneaky and repulsive, that is your own issue. If you think the Tao is unfair, that is merely your short-sightedness, unaware of past causes and consequences. To argue with others over right and wrong is to invite trouble upon yourself, it severs your own path to joy and happiness.